Hello everybody, welcome back to the engine house. I got a little free time going on here, which is unusual considering everything I've got going on. The Hobo Palace is waiting on some stuff, so I started another project. I often do that, and we in the middle of everything else we've got going on, I get a little time to do this, and I'm good with that. Okay, let me start off. This is a kit. This is a wooden kit I bought a couple of years ago and it's been setting. I haven't had a chance to do anything with it. This is from Wooden Railroad. There's a website on there. They have a few kits. They're reasonably priced. Good kits to start with. The instructions are good. I'll show you what this building is here. This is tool and die is what they're calling this. Okay, there's one side, and then here we have the other side, and of course we have the steps, all the steps going on here, and of course we have a list, the parts list and everything. It's always good to go through everything you have. And I put this thing aside because I wanted the stain. Best Trains has that stain out, and fixed income, you know how that goes. And this is kind of modeling on a budget, so I've just been putting it off because I wanted to do this, but didn't have the stain I wanted. And then I remembered Jason Jensen from Jason Jensen Trains. One of his earlier videos talked about making your own stain using gray paint and water. So what I have done is I have taken this little container right here. We'll go over this here in a minute. And of course, it's not exactly a waterproof container, so I'm splashing stain around. Anyway, I started off with some dark gray and water, and it wasn't quite dark enough, so I added some deep gray, even darker, and it looked darker still, so we're leaving it like that. And I started staining some of these pieces. There are a lot of little pieces here. The wood starts out like this, and these are two different buildings, so the wood clapboards or whatever go roughly in two separate directions. I do believe this is this is probably this way. So this is one building, and then of course we have the other building. You can see the difference in the clapboards, and some of this is still wet. I've been working on it. Anyway, so you mix this up, get it the dark, the thickness or the dark, that you think it'll work. And then we take this, dip your brush in there, and you want to go with the clapboards, of course. Okay, so this is kind of before, and this is after. Now, once it dries, if it's not as dark as you'd like it, you can go back over it again. This is a cheap alternative to, an oil-based stain. They're nice, but to buy a bottle of those, it's I forgot what the price is, but it's over $10, and you get a good bottle. And of course, you don't use it all the time. It'll last a while, but I would rather spend money on other things than stain that I'm only going to use I don't have a lot. This is the only wooden kit I have. If you're going to do a lot of wooden kits, yeah, buy some stain that you want and do that. This is a pretty good starter kit. You know, this has been laser cut on and there's the roof sections. What I'm going to do with these is I'll probably make, my own shingles like I did for a couple of HO kits and add them to this. So this probably will not get stained. It's a nice kit. And again, I've had it for a couple of years and I've just sat it and it's sat and sat. It says tool and die shop. What I intend to do with it is this is going to become, running out of room here, this is going to become the next a smaller version of the Gruesome Cannery that I did in HO scale a while back. This is, of course, going to be a much smaller building, so it will be. Wow, I am running out of room fast. There are a lot of pieces here, but anyway, it'll be a much smaller building than the original Gruesome Cannery and HO scale was. So it'll sit on the coast, and it'll be manned by fishermen, whatnot. It's got a water tank there. It's not a bad little kit overall, and it was relatively inexpensive as far as wooden kits go. I've seen some out there that HO kits that Jason Jensen puts out and Doug Foss of Foss Scale Models, they can be a bit on the spendy side. So, you do what you have to. I do believe in saving a penny here and there. Most hobbies, as if you have somebody in your life who crochets or knits or any kind of hobby, can get rather expensive. And when both you and your wife are into two different hobbies, you have to figure out how to make it work. And so, I bought a kit here, and this was a reasonably priced kit, and the stain I can make. And I don't worry about, you can see some of that pools up in there. I'm not worried about that. Stain, if you're weathering something, you all know that it doesn't weather evenly a lot of times. So you just kind of put it on. And again, if it's not as dark as you want it, when it dries, go back over and do it again. I kind of like the way this is turning out, so I'm going to leave it alone. And I suppose if you wanted to stain this with, say, a different color, green, blue, brown, anything, you just do the same thing. You mix your stain. If you look at the best trains stains that they have many, many different colors. And so you don't have to do gray. I'm weathering this because it's going to be sitting by the seaside. So, wooden buildings, if they're left not maintained as their weather, and it's usually gray. So we're going to weather this, like I said, and you could do this with any color. I remember seeing one of Jason Jensen's earlier videos where he did this, and I thought, oh, and I just kind of forgot about it. But wanting to get started on this, I've had this kit for 2 years and have never, it hasn't even come out of the bag that they sent it in. And I thought I need to really get going on this. And since I'm kind of caught up on the work around the house, the weather's getting nice. It's warming up, so I have to get back to that here pretty soon. I decided I'd go ahead and mess around with this. Now, I'm not 100% sure what this is supposed to be, but if it's exposed, it's going to be weathered. So we're going to weather it. And because I'm not sure which side is out, both sides of it will get weathered once it dries. And always when you get a kit, and I looked it over, and again, I'm not really 100% sure which one goes out or if both sides will be seen. So it's just easier to go ahead and do, and little pieces like this. I don't know which side goes where. Haven't looked, but it doesn't hurt to do both sides. If it doesn't get seen, not a big deal. We have a little tiny piece here. We have some windows and doors. There is, let me show you here. Those are the major walls. Here's a bag of trim, windows and door frames and doors and everything that goes. And then there's a catwalk. If you can notice here, there's a catwalk between the two buildings. You'll see a little better on that. There's part of the catwalk in here, as well as some other pieces. The water tank, you can see that right here. All of these, of course, are going to have to be stained as I go, and they're going to have and of course I don't have a lot of room to stain everything, so I'm doing the bigger sections first, and the windows and door frames I probably will stain those first and then paint them a little bit. And again, we all know how older buildings are that have been left to the weather. Things weather at different rates. And I think this is a floor. I'm going to stain it anyway, not knowing. It doesn't have any other markings on it other than some holes. It doesn't look like floorboards or anything. So this has got to be a base, but we're going to stain it anyway. I'm not going to do the roof sections because, again, I'm going to make my own shingles. And we will go and do that. Okay. So once this is all done, of course, they have to dry. So once these are dry, I'll come back and we'll start some painting. Okay? Well, while some of this stuff is drying, I'm going over the windows and doors. One fault I find with this kit is there's a couple of pieces. Well, for starters, that's a door. Okay, we have door frames here. We got a frame, which is good. We have a door, but unless you're going to put glass on it and make it a glass door, it's, kind of lacking. So what I'm doing here, and we have, of course, a couple of warehouse doors. We've got these right here. These go into, one of them's at a loading dock. And then we have this, which, according to the picture, it's hard to see there. This is a little better picture. This goes right there on the building, but it has a roof over it, but no steps or anything of that nature in front of it. So I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a window or if it's a freight door of some kind. it's kind of unclear on that, and the pictures don't do that any justice. One of the failings of this that I see is lack of written instructions, which would be nice. Pictures are great, but written instructions are, of course, a lot better. Gives you a better idea of what's what. So, hi, Shop Kitty. How are you doing? Huh? You're not sleeping today? Anyway, so a lot of these are, of course, windows, and we have a lot of windows here. So I'm gonna first I'm gonna pet Shop Kitty for a minute. She has not been around. We also have, I think, we have some framework in here and some other things in this other bag, which will go get weathered here shortly. But before I weather these, I want to make sure the doors have, look more like a door. So I did already do this one and glued it. And yeah, it's thick, but you're not going to see the backside, so it really doesn't matter. So we're going to make another one here if Shop Kitty will let me. Hi. Yes, you're a good kitty. Usually here this time of day, she's sleeping. Today she's been wanting to be, wanting to be loved on. I got to do some cutting here, okay? You come back in a minute. So we are going to make another door out of this. And so if you buy a kit like this, and most of them, most of the instructions are self-explanatory. It's just one or two that I'm like, okay, what is this supposed to be? A window? Honestly, what is that? It's hard to tell. Is it a window? Is it a door? It has bracing. It's not a double door. These are clearly double doors. You can see the line in the middle. They're supposed to be, So they kind of left that part out. The one fault I can find with this, as far as building it goes, is lack of good instructions. Let me put it that way. And okay, we've got that one. While stuff is drying, this is mostly dry now, but I wanted to get some of these done because they go in pretty soon. So we'll get this taken care of, and then we'll let the glue dry, and we'll stain it. I'll put this here. Okay, we've got that. And these don't have to be perfect because you're not going to see the back. As long as, it covers the door, we can live with that. Shop Kitty's been rather upset with me lately. A few times I've gone down into the basement was to put mortar in between stones, and she's wanting to chase a locomotive around. And I have the wiring done for the first round of track, but I don't have it hooked to a transformer yet. And so I haven't run any locomotives or anything of that nature. Everything I have is still in, whoops, we're going to break that off. Okay, we're not worried about that. Everything I have is still in totes up here on the landing because I haven't had a chance to, I need to clean everything and service everything. And then once the wiring is done, everything will go back on the shelves down there that I built a couple of years ago. But for now, while I'm working, mixing mortar and moving stone and whatnot around, whoops, well, that was dumb. Boy, I tell you, some days, talking and grab the wrong cap. I'm sure many of us have done that. I'll do that. And, well, that doesn't really cut it anymore. So, I don't know what I was thinking. Apparently, I was not. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and do these two as doors, and I'm going to call this a window. So, anyway, you get the general idea here of what we're doing. So, I will be back in a little bit after this is all stained, and then we'll start painting. And I do believe we're going to go with some dark blue and maybe even some light blue. As you know, to do weathering on these and to simulate after you've got the weathering done, the wood, you want to go from dark to light on the paint. So I've got a couple different colors of blue here, and this is, of course, the darkest one I've got. We'll see what happens, what I get done here, what I can do, and what I want to do. So we'll be back in a little bit. Well, we're back. It's been a couple of days since I started this, but anyway, we'll get right into it here. One of the things, see if I can find the picture. Don't know where it ended up. I am trying to simulate a barn I saw that's on the way to my son's house. Very, very weathered. Got buried in there somehow. We'll leave this right here. Anyway, if you notice, this is kind of the look I'm going for right here. It's very, very faded, and except for the very top, and of course that's where the roof, protects some of the side of the building. So it is that look that I was going for with this, and I'm experimenting, and there's no harm in that. I've taken some dark blue, about 8 drops of this in one of these, and then added some water. Now, some of the water's evaporated since I did this, but this is basically what it looks like. You can see some of the very faded blue. Now, I'll put some darker blue up along the top here where it would, here's the other wall, where it will be protected by the roof, and just like a normal building. So what I did was I mixed this up, and you can see here you can see the difference in the two. This is, I stained it using the gray. Okay, I've got some gray here, and I stained it using that. And I wanted a very kind of it's a very weathered building is what it's going to be. So, and then of course I did this, and it's very weathered. You can just barely see. Now, you could dry brush this on. I'm experimenting. I wasn't happy with the way I did tried a few different things on this old piece of balsa wood here. And the only one that was this one. That's the only one I kind of liked. So you got to experiment. play around with it. So what we'll do here is my mat is gonna need a cleaning, and we'll just hit this. And on some of this, I know which one of these is the top. This I know is a window because there's a little roof over it here. And that window is going to become a freight door and not a window. This is a cannery, not a tool and die. So it will be, I'll be turning that more into a door. Well, I have not decided yet whether or not I am going to finish cutting this down and make it a rather large door for a forklift or something, or if I'm going to build a little ramp up to it. But I'll, something will come to mind. Anyway, you may need more than one coat. I think these each have 3 coats on them. So while that one is drying, we'll go after this one. Now, if you remember the pictures, there are actually 2 buildings here connected by a catwalk. Okay, this catwalk is probably going to become something else. It is going to be enclosed or something of that nature rather than a catwalk, because this is listed as a tool and die shop. It is going to be Gruesome Cannery, as is the HO when I kit bashed up there a long time ago. A little smaller than that. I mean, if you do the math, this is a smaller one than that kit bashed one. But either way, it's going to be a very small cannery. And I'm going to connect the 2 here. I may even continue all the way down and leave out the windows. I haven't quite decided yet. So there's another building part, which is over here. Here's the other building, and I've stained it already. I'll probably leave it alone. Hi, Shop Kitty. How are you? Yeah. We haven't seen you in a little while. I need to do this. Usually, when I'm in here lately, she's been off sleeping somewhere. So we'll give these couple 2 or 3 coats, and then I'll come back with a new video on this. I'm going to give this all the last 3 small pieces 1 coat, and okay, we're going to put these 2 over here. They're dry. That there and that there. And, if you want to dry brush paint on, I have done that. And again, I was not satisfied with the way it was coming out. So I decided to go this route instead, just experimenting. And there's no harm with that. This is how we learn new techniques. And what works best, and what works for me might not necessarily work for you. So, but this is how we do it anyway. It's all about experimenting, figuring out what's what. And the way I'm gonna work this is I'm gonna assemble one building and then the other building, because I have a lot of little parts over there, windows and doors and trim and things of that nature. There's a couple of bags of trim and things up here. So it's all got to be, and there's so much, and I have such a small area to work in here that it's next to impossible to couldn't spread everything out and do it all at once. So that is it for this video. That is it for this video. So I hope you enjoyed it and follow along. There'll be more because this is, again, going to take me a while. It's not something that's going to be done in a couple of days. I also still am working on the house, so it's kind of crazy around here, and that's the way it is. My son and family moved up. They're about 15 minutes north of me, and there's a lot going on helping them get settled in. So I'm very busy lately, so this has taken a while. But anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. And from me and Shop Kitty, I hope you enjoyed. We'll catch you next time. Bye for now.